Hello, it's Mrs. Kearns here. I'm in my art room, and I'm here today to talk to you about perspective and shading. So those are two things we're going to do in our project. What you're going to need for this project is you're going to need a piece of paper. You are going to need a ruler. You're going to need a pencil. That's what we need for our drawing. And then if you have me in class, you know I love the Sharpie marker because I love to trace over my pencil drawing when we're finished. So if you want to go ahead and get a Sharpie marker. We're also going to be shading in with colored pencils. So if you have a pack of colored pencils, that's great. And of course I have mine in my bins. So that's what you're going to need today. So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about perspective and shading, and we're going to create a landscape artwork. And if you have heard of landscape before, you know a landscape is anytime an artist draws land. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. So stay with me. Okay, so you've got your supplies and you're ready to get started. You should have a white piece of paper, a pencil, and a ruler. Today I'm going to be using the Sharpie to draw so you can see it better on this video, but you're going to be using your pencil. I'd like you to hold your paper horizontally. This is vertical, this is horizontal. We're going to hold it horizontally. And I'd like you to take your ruler and you're going to simply lay it across your paper horizontally, which means it's going this way, around the center. And I just want it going straight across. Whenever you're using the ruler in art, what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and put that ruler where you want it. You're going to put your hands in the center and push down firmly. Push down really hard so this ruler doesn't move. And then you're going to draw your line across. So I have just created a horizon line. In a landscape, the horizon line is where the sun sets and rises. That's the horizon line. It also is where the sky meets the land. So here is our horizon line. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to put a little dot in the center of your page. We are going to do something called one-point perspective. And what that means is everything that we're drawing goes right back to one point. And it's magical. I can't wait for you to see how that works. So my point is going to be right here. And the first thing I'm going to create is a road that's going to come from our horizon line. To create the road, I'm going to make sure I'm going to start at this point. And this point actually is called the vanishing point. Everything vanishes here. I'm going to put my ruler at that point and I'm going to slant it out slightly at a diagonal. Do you see how my ruler's at a diagonal? And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to push down firmly on that ruler and I'm going to draw a diagonal line out. Do you see how that goes out diagonally? I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, starting at our vanishing point and going out. So let me go ahead and set that up. I'm starting at the vanishing point and I want it to be about the same on this side, holding firmly on the ruler while I do that so my ruler doesn't move. And this is so cool because you can see already, do you see how this road looks like it's going back? It's doing that because we're using one-point perspective and we're going back to that vanishing point. The next thing I'm going to do on my road is those little lines that are in the middle of the road. To do that, I'm going to go to my vanishing point, but I'm going to go straight down this time. And I am going to make those lines smaller in the back and then a little longer as it comes forward. And the reason is because things that are further away from us are smaller and bigger as they come closer. And do you see how that just created a road? I love this. I just think it's so cool. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to add a sidewalk on both sides. And to do that, I'm going to start at my vanishing point because I know anything that I create starts at that vanishing point. And then I'm going to go out just a little bit from that line. So I've got a line there that's creating a sidewalk, and I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. Remember, hold that ruler firmly so it doesn't move, just like that. So now I've got a sidewalk and my road. At this point, you can make this drawing your own and create it how you would like. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to draw, let's see, I'm going to draw some mountains. Mountains are so fun and easy because they're just upside down V's, and you can do them any sizes that you would like, almost like zigzags here. I can put snow at the top by adding a little wiggly line there. You can add snow at the top if you would like to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have it look like the sun is setting on my picture. Now, if the sun is setting, it will be just a half circle. I'm going to go ahead and do this half circle like this, nice and big, like as if that sun is setting behind those mountains. I think that's pretty neat. Then you can create anything that you want on either sides. If you want to do buildings, you can make buildings. If you want to do trees, you could make trees. I might do those telephone poles, and let me show you this. Now, I know Mrs. Kearns had said anytime things go back, they get smaller. So here's what I want to do, and everything's going to go back to our vanishing point. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to put your ruler on that vanishing point. I'm going to have you go out to a diagonal, and then I'm going to have you put a little dot where you would want each one of those telephone poles. I just did 1, 2, 3, 4. And then what I'm going to do from there is I'm going to have the pole go straight down. So I'm going to go to the top of each one. I'm going to go to each dot, and I'm going to draw that straight down, and you'll see in just a second what I'm talking about. You're going to notice they're getting smaller, right, as we go back. So do you see how I put the 4 points? I'm going to go over that again. I did my ruler diagonal. I made 4 points where I wanted them. Then I turned my ruler and drew down on each one. Then telephone poles have those wires that go from one to the next. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll put those in there. They also a lot of times have those, well, you could make it thicker. You could make a little line that goes across. You can make this how you want to make this. You can add, like I said, trees. You could add, I'm going to add like a little lake over here. You can add anything that you want to your drawing at this point. And then the next step is going to be shading it in, and we'll go over that next. All right, so the next step is shading, and you can see I took my perspective drawing and I colored it in using colored pencils. Once you've colored it in with the colored pencils, you want to start working on some of the shadows and the shading. The great thing about colored pencils are, and let me just show you on the back, if you're just coloring with regular pressure, the color looks like this. But if you want to make it darker, if you push down harder, you can see you can get a dark orange and a light orange and a medium orange, all with the same pencil. That's the great thing. It's all in how you shade. On your artwork, there are places you are going to want to get a little bit darker. And usually what I do is when I'm shading, whatever's closest to the edge, I go a little bit darker, and then I fade out to get lighter. So you can see I did a little bit darker orange here around the sun, and then fade it out. So that's something that I do. You may want to do, I did the mountains brown, and you can see I added a little bit of shading here with black, but I can also do that with pushing down harder with my brown. And then as I fade up, the way you fade up is I'm pushing hard, and then I kind of push medium, and then I push light. So as you're coloring, it just depends on how hard you are pushing. And you can see like kind of where it starts. I'm pushing hard, and then I get lighter on my way up. Another thing I want to talk to you about shading is when you are shading, it's nice to go in the same direction the whole time. That way it doesn't look scribbly. It gives you a really nice look. Now, I want to talk to you about the shadows. My sun, depending on where your sun is where it's going to cast a shadow. If you've ever been outside on a sunny day, you know that you have a shadow. So if the sun is hitting you, your body is blocking the sun, and then you see your shadow on the ground. Same thing's going to happen here. If the sun is behind the mountains, then the shadows are going to come out here in front of the mountains. And to do that, all I did was I took my green and I made about the same shape as the mountains and then pushed harder and made another coat just like that. So I'll show you, I'm gonna shade this one in. You're just gonna push down harder. Sometimes I also like to change the color of that, and I'm looking for my green here, and I'll use like a darker green. You can see this darker green coming in, and I'm going to shadow that. The same thing happens to my telephone poles that I put over here. My sun is back here, so the telephone poles, those shadows would come down this way. And for that, I actually used black. And all I've done is, here's my pole. I've just kind of done that same shape coming straight out of there, just like that. And that's a cast shadow. That's a shadow there. I also love to blend colors when I'm shading, and so you can blend, you can mix colors and blend colors together by coloring one color on top of another. And again, if you want it darker, push harder. If you want to just blend lightly, you can just push lightly, just like that. I can see over here I was using yellow. I can kind of bring that yellow back in and overlap and blend the pink and the yellow together, just like that. So I hope that gives you some good ideas about shading and shadows and kind of how to do that. I know you're going to do a great job on your perspective drawing. Have fun coloring it in.